Hi, welcome back to the channel. So, in my first video, I said I would make a video where I get into why I choose to live in a camper van at, at my age. And I'd just like to tell you a couple of reasons for that. The first one is because I have always spent my childhood outdoors. My family and I used to sail every weekend and every school holiday. We were sailing boats. My dad had a sailboat, and we just explored the waterways and lakes and coastlines of the Netherlands and Belgium and France and the UK, Channel Islands, etc. And it just gave this immense feeling of freedom. You do most of your living outside because it's that's where the action happens. You have all your things that you need in the boat, much like you do in a caravan or a motorhome. You just carry the necessities with you, but most of your living is done outside, either on deck on a boat, or you're going out to cycle on a trail or hike when you're on a campsite or anything like that. And you always get to see places from a different viewpoint, meaning that you can get to places where you usually wouldn't go if you're on your way to somewhere by car or anything like that. So by boat, you get to see things at a different angle, so to speak. It sounds weird, but that's how I see it. And then when I was 16, 17, my late teens anyway, I decided it might be cool to live on a boat. So I never really got the chance to do that because it was expensive then. I didn't have any money, and I didn't have a job at that point, so still going to school. You get the message. Anyway, when I got to my mid-20s, my early to mid-20s, I decided to make a change of career. And I was, up to then, I was in photography, but it was right about the time when digital started to happen and really take off. And at that point, I was still kind of building my brand. So when digital happened, I had to compete with 100 other photographers for one job. And being how my brain is wired, that kind of stumped me from progressing for some reason. And that's all right, but I felt I'll go do something else, something that's still near and dear to my heart. So I decided to enroll in a traditional boat building and joinery course in the UK, where I learned to build complete boats, just sew in wood from keel to furniture to masts, spars, everything you can think of. And that really spurred me on to really start looking at getting that boat finally to live on. But then there was this guy I met there. He was a wood carver, and he lived in an old transit van that he done up, just a regular old long wheelbase transit van. Nothing special on the outside, but when he opened the doors, it was like this rustic cabin in there. He had this wood burning stove. He had a little washroom, table, bed, anything he needed. And what he did was because he supported himself by doing wood carving commission work, and he'd just go drive up to the forest, park his van, find a bit of wood, and started working on a project. and that's how he lived. And I thought, wow, that's awesome, you know. So that's something that got lodged in my brain. And so, you know, I got back to the Netherlands, and as luck would have it, I couldn't get any work in carpentry, or the traditional heritage carpentry that I was taught, and I really didn't fancy being a carpenter at a building site, because that's a different type of carpentry in general. You don't get to do as many different jobs. It's just standard, like stuff like hanging doors or fitting windows. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that's not what I wanted to do, and not what I trained for. So I I got into retail, and first it was cameras. I sold at a camera shop, and then when I got married, I started to work as a lab technician in an optics lab, and I did that for a number of years. That kind of became my career. And then, because my wife is English, we moved back to the UK, and I just continued my career there in the lab. And then a funny thing happened about 2 years ago. My marriage ended, and you know, it happens. It's not a problem. We are the best of friends still, so I see it. You know, I lost a wife, but I gained the best friend I ever had. And so when that happened, I suddenly had an opportunity, or a chance, to change my chapter, change my life again, start a whole new chapter. My ex did her thing. She had her goals and things to chase after, and her life to live, and I could do the same now, you know. So immediately that van thing popped back in my head again. Not that it was ever gone, because for years and years I'd been watching van videos and rebuilding, remodeling, etc. So it was always there. And yeah, I'm living in a van now. And most people say, like, well, yeah, you're 49, you know. Excuse me. You're 49. Why don't you hire or rent a flat, or a house share, or anything like that, you know? It's, you know, living in a van. And I was thinking, like, well, yeah, okay, I could have done that. I could have rented a new apartment. But the thing was, I still can't settle that well in one place. At some point, somewhere, I need to get moving again. And with the van, it helps, because I can move around, and I can on my travels maybe encounter a place that I'd want to settle for a longer period of time. And that's basically also one of my thoughts behind it. So it gives me the freedom, the feeling of freedom that I had back on the boat, because I just have my self-contained unit, and whatever I do, I can go for walks. After work, I just, you know, get in my van, drive up to a forest or a coast or anything like that, and just have a wander around and just enjoy the nature and the silence around me. And when you live in a house, you don't have that, because you have to contend with traffic getting back to your house. If you don't drive, you have to make use of public transport, like I did. And for someone on the spectrum, that's very, very stressful, because you've already worked 8 hours for a day, and then you have to add on another 2 hours to get back home. And that left me with very little time to um, pursue my hobbies, my interests, before I had to, get up again in the morning and do the whole thing all over again. It works for some people, I'll admit that, and there's loads of people that uh, live their lives like that and perfectly happy doing so. But I knew it wasn't going to be something that I would be able to do, or keep doing. And it's so anybody living in a house and whatever, doing the family thing, the house, the car, the garden, the office job, that's fine, and keep on doing what you're doing. But it's not for everyone. And that's another thing I want to convey in this video, is that it's okay to uh, step away from that ideal thing. There's no rule that says that you have to become, that you have to live in a house, that you have to uh, get that position at work, that you have to uh, start a family, anything like that. There's no rule that says you have to do that at any age. So it's that's my reasoning, and you can do this at any age. You can start when you're 20, you're young and everything. You want to explore the world. That's cool. You can start in your 30s, in your 40s, even in your 70s and 80s. There's still people doing this, making a radical change in their life. And the fun thing is because you're doing this, you're keeping yourself active as well, because it's all nice to work till retirement, and when you finally retire, you get to enjoy the fruits of your labor. But it doesn't always go like that for people. And your health starts to decline. That's a natural fact at a certain age. But that also, and that brings problems if you want to explore the world. And now people can say, like, well, you just keep healthy, you go to the gym, etc. And like, yeah, that's true. But why not do it now while I'm still fit and youngish? I'm 49, and I can get fitter again. I can keep fitter again, and I'm not hanging on to as much stuff. So it's easier then to do the things you like and see the things you want to see. And it's that's to me what life is supposed to be. Life is supposed to be an experience. It's I spent too many years sitting on the sofa, getting my brain, rotting my brain by looking at streaming services, and just sitting there for the sake of it, and spending money on stuff I didn't need. And now I can save that money and buy an experience. And I think that's important too, because as humans, we live in cities. Cities have everything available, but the one thing they don't have is that feeling of freedom that you get in nature, where you breathe in the fresh air and you hear the animals, you see the trees, you hear the wind. It's all the smells, everything. It's just not in a city. And that's something that I want to be feeling, to make me feel alive. So I don't know if this video makes sense to you, if what I'm saying makes sense to you. If not, then yeah, sorry. But if you have anything to add on to this, your own experiences, if you have any tips or tricks, just leave them in the comments, and just enjoy your life. you know. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good one.